Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers, still coming to you remotely as we go through this COVID-19 experience. Coming up in the program this week, Justin Ohlde, a dairy farmer from the Ohlde Dairy outside of Linn, will join us. A lot of things about the dairy industry in the news recently, and so we wanted you to hear directly from a young Kansas dairyman on what's going on their operation. Also, we're going to talk about what he and others are doing to use this as an opportunity to reach a lot of folks about what goes on their operation, and other Kansans are doing things as well to help tell people, show people where their food comes from. We'll also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, and our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
And agriculture news from agview.net. Producers signed a record 1.77 million contracts for USDA's ag risk coverage and price loss coverage programs for the 2019 crop year. That's more than 107% of the total contracts signed compared to the 5-year average. USDA also reminds producers June 30th is the deadline to enroll in ARC and PLC for the 2020 crop year, then make that one-time update to PLC payment yields by September 30th. FSA attributes a significant participation in the 2019 crop year of ALC and PLC to increase producer interest in the programs under the 2018 Farm Bill and an increase in eligible farms because of the selling and buying of farms and new opportunities for beginning farmers and military veterans with farms having 10 or fewer base acres. Enrollment for 2019 ended on March the 16th. I want to remind you, USDA service centers like FSA county offices are open for business by phone only. Now, the field work will continue with appropriate social distancing. Now, while program delivery staff will continue to come into the office, they'll be working with producers by phone and using online tools whenever possible. All service center visitors wishing to conduct business with the FSA, Natural Resource Conservation Service, or any other service center agency are required to call that service center and schedule a phone appointment. Well, the Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank reports a slowdown of farm lending in the first quarter of the year. Before the emergence of the global economic developments related to COVID-19, growth in farm lending continued to show signs of slowing. Now, according to data collected early in February, agricultural lending activity showed further signs of slowing in the first quarter, despite an increase in the volume of operating loans. The total volume of non-real estate loans remained above the historic average, but were about 10% lower than a year ago. Despite a decline in most types of lending, loans for operating expenses increased nearly 10%. The overall decline was driven by a drop of about 30% in both livestock loans and loans for miscellaneous purposes. KC Fed says demand for farm loans may increase as economic disruptions associated with the COVID-19 pandemic could put additional pressure on farm finances. More on these and other stories at agview.net. Stay with us as we talk Kansas dairy when we return.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Ohlde Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at ohldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
And joining us this week is Justin Ohlde, who is a dairy farmer, Ohlde Dairy, in the Linn, Kansas area. And Justin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, as we look about what's going on with the situation that we're all still trying to deal with, one industry that's been hit particularly hard in agriculture is the dairy sector. So I wanted to bring you on because your operation has done maybe something and been very proactive in helping tell the story, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But let's kind of give us your take on how things are with Kansas dairy farmers and the Kansas dairy industry right now.
Well, things in the industry are tough. We're like probably everybody else. I mean, we're just trying to figure out what happens, what's going to happen next. Some of the challenges that we face are we're making milk every single day. The milk has to have a home, and that home has to be either consumed directly or made into products such as cheese, powder, butter, so on and so forth. And the economy was pretty well just completely hit a wall, and we're just trying to reroute, reevaluate and see where we're at today and what we think we'll be at here in 3 months, 6 months down the road.
So the situation isn't that there isn't enough milk, it's a way to get it off your farm to process, then into, say, the grocery stores now.
Yeah, there's challenges the whole way along the supply chain. We certainly have it. Then you've got to get it to the plants, and then the plants, I know they're running into a few issues of some COVID cases. Everybody's looking out for safety first for everyone in this situation. But it's you turn on a demand spigot that wasn't there to this degree, literally overnight. You had plants geared up to go to restaurants, go to different things like that. Now all of a sudden you're trying to go homes, and everybody's just trying to figure out the logistics of everything.
The federal government had other programs in place, so far some assistance programs haven't gone to dairy. Others are saying dairy needs a little more push. Do you think there'll be something there beyond the programs that are already in place?
I think it's probably a wait and see. Purdue announced Friday, I think it was Friday, some things they wanted to do for the dairy industry. Personally, I'd like to see most of those funds, if not all of them, go to buy our products and give them to people that have lost their jobs. That way you keep the dairy going, you keep the plants going, and you help some people out that are unfortunately having a really tough time just all of a sudden.
Our guest this week is Justin Ohlde, who is a dairy farmer from the Linn area. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about some of the proactive things that their dairy and others are doing to help tell the story. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
And our guest this week is Justin Ohlde, who is a dairy farmer from the Linn area. And Justin, one of the things that I noticed really on social media here a few weeks ago is as this situation continued to evolve and people had a lot of concerns about the food supply, but also wanting to know more about the safety and where their food comes from. And your dairy and others were some of the leaders in really using tools like video and social media to help get the story out. Kind of tell us how that developed and what you're doing to help tell that story.
Well, we've always felt that we should try to show people what we're doing, how cows are milked, the whole 9 yards. I mean, even though we're in a very small community, dairy has become a smaller and smaller industry. So we've always tried to show people what it's all about, what we do. There's a gal in our office, Ashley. She's fantastic, and she was fielding a fair amount of questions of why can't we get milk in the stores and why can't we do this and that. So it's her idea to put us on and try to explain a few things that are happening in the industry. I did the marketing piece, and then my brother and Darren, our herdsman, I know they did some more of the cow side, looking at the actual dairy part of it.
Well, and other dairies have also stepped up and done virtual tours or opened it up. Where a lot of folks are helping their kids at home with school and really giving an opportunity, because I think a lot of times maybe some of our city folks think that ice cream and milk and cheese just comes from the grocery store.
Yeah, and we wanted to make the point too that with everything going on, we're still doing what we can do, and the food supply is safe, and there's no issues on farm. And yeah, that was something else that was brought up. I mean, I've got a 4-year-old that's starting to do preschool online or YouTube a couple times a week, thanks to her teacher. And we just said, hey, just see if anybody's interested and where it goes.
Well, those are great opportunities and outreach, and I think we're seeing more and more of agriculture trying to step in and make that connection with folks as we maybe get this chance to kind of reset things. But talking about that, Justin, let's look at the future of the industry the way you see it. Once things somewhat settle back down and we are in another new normal, where do you think dairy is heading in places like Kansas and this part of the Great Plains region?
A couple of things I do know is that milk is a nutritious product. We've got, for what you actually pay for, as far as whatever metric you want to use, calcium, protein, all that kind of stuff is in there. It's an economical option for everybody. I think Kansas is in a good spot to grow. We've got arid areas. We have a lot of positives here. We are in the middle of the country, so we can ship. Even a support in the Gulf or somewhere like that. We're not too far from anything. What that looks like going forward, it's that's pretty tough. I mean, we're not going to get that restaurant traffic back right away. How much of it will we get back? What is it going to look like? How long is that going to take? I know after 9/11, it took 3 years for the airplane industry to get back to where it was. I don't know why the restaurant industry wouldn't be, something along those lines. Right. And I would imagine you're going to have more people working from home, less time in the offices downtown. So how does that change? Do you have restaurants kind of perking up on the outskirts of town? Do you have more at home meals? There's just a lot of angles and a lot of different things that this thing can go. But I know at the end of the day, we can do a good job. We can make a good product for everybody.
Well, Justin, we sure appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. You've got a busy day every day, and we wish you and Kansas dairy farmers success as we go through this. It is a tough road, and thanks for what you do in support of all of us. And of course, we want to encourage folks drink milk, eat cheese, and maybe have that second bowl of ice cream. All right, Justin Ohlde, who is a dairy farmer from the Linn, Kansas area, has been our special guest this week. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hi, this is Sharon Thielen. I am the Director of Education for the Kansas Corn Commission, and I'm just going to visit a little bit about our continuous learning efforts that the Kansas Corn Commission is putting out right now. So we all know in the state of Kansas and nationwide, there's been a stay-at-home order. So people are starting to try to figure out how are they going to educate their kids at home. In Kansas, they've been ahead of the curve, and they made that announcement early. And so parents and teachers have been working together to try to figure out how are we going to keep educating our kids until the end of the school year. In our Kansas Corn STEM program, we decided we want to play an important part in that effort, and we brought our group of teachers together that normally writes lessons for us. We had 16 teachers come to the table and threw out lots of ideas on how we can adjust the lessons that we currently have, but also create new ones that use products that you can find in your home to do these hands-on activities, but also written in a way that parents can understand how to do those activities. And so every day for the last 2 weeks, we have been rolling out a new featured lesson every day on Facebook and on our website, kansascornstem.com, all spelled out. Go to our lesson library and you can check out all of those continuous learning lessons that are going to be added every single day from now until the end of the school year.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Ohlde Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Ohlde Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Ohlde Seed today.
Over the past few weeks, farmers have taken major hits, not only financially, but also when it comes to the weather. Recent cold temperatures have potential to cause freeze injury to the 2020 wheat crop. Factors to watch out for include growth stage of the crop, air and soil temperature, duration of cold temperatures, and snow cover. If the growing point is already above ground, the first joint is visible, wheat can sustain temperatures down to about 24 degrees for a few hours. Minimum temperatures below 24 degrees for extended periods of time increase the risk of crop injury. Along with watching your wheat during the changing weather, it's also important to scout wheat for stripe and leaf rust. There were a few reports of stripe rust from Oklahoma and a Twitter report of the disease in southeast Kansas bordering Missouri. To date, extension agents, crop consultants, and growers all indicate that rust is not widely active in Kansas. When people think of stripe rust, they often visualize the characteristic bright yellowish-orange lesions on adult plants. Symptoms of stripe rust on younger leaves are often less rectangular because the fungal growth within the plant is not limited by the veins of younger leaves. With the wheat crop in south central and southeast Kansas approaching or already at the flag leaf emergence stages of growth, farmers are encouraged to be on the lookout for diseases. More in-field observations will be happening over the next few weeks. Visit kswheat.com to learn more.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Field, I was working ground, and I thought, gosh, here it is the day before Easter, and with everything that's going on, maybe let's do something fun, something good. And I'm thinking, gosh, I could maybe make a cross in the field with the field cultivator. So I came back and I just took a couple of pictures from up high. I posted it, and I'm completely taken back by how this thing has gone around the world. Everything I put on my Facebook page is fun, positive stuff. And because there's so much negativity out there, and I thought, I'm going to do my part to put something fun, positive out there. So I had no idea. I thought, I'll get 50, 60 likes from something like this. And I know for a fact it's been to Germany, it's been to Brazil, Argentina, Romania, a couple places in South Africa, some other country that I can't even pronounce. I would love to know how many people have seen this. It just, and the positive comments that have come back, I'm just so overwhelmed by this. It's just such a cool thing. I just hope I put smiles on people's faces, and all the positive comments I've gotten back, I think I've done that. And I didn't intend to do that. I'm a believer, and I think that maybe there was an upper hand in this. It wasn't just me, because on my post I put, because I lost my father about 3.5 years ago. And I put on there, hey, Dad, in heaven, I hope you can see this cross.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Ohlde Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Ohlde Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Ohlde Seed today.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
U.S. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue recently announced that the agency would be expanding its investigation into the cattle markets. This announcement came after NCBA President Marty Smith sent a letter to President Donald Trump requesting the government act quickly to investigate the striking disparity between boxed beef prices and cattle prices in the futures and cash markets. He specifically asked President Trump to direct USDA to expand the ongoing investigation into market activity after the Holcomb fire last August to include the current market volatility taking place in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Smith stated the request was made in the hope of identifying whether inappropriate influence occurred in the markets and to provide the industry with recommendations on how it can update cattle markets to ensure they are equipped to function within today's market realities. Additionally, Smith asked that the Commodity Futures Trading Commission study the influence of speculators on live and feeder cattle futures contracts to determine whether these contracts remain a useful risk management tool for cattle producers. KLA President Harry Mosier had previously sent a similar letter to USDA Undersecretary Greg Ibaugh requesting an investigation to determine if any violations of the Packers and Stockyards Act occurred following the first diagnosis of coronavirus in the U.S. January 21st.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Good morning. Zach Ohlde here with Paragon Ag, a division of Keiko Isom. Another week of more corona has come and gone, and it's continuing to take no prisoners in the commodity markets. The dairy industry and livestock sector are taking the brunt of it, with schools and restaurants closed. The consumer demand is now pivoting to the grocery space. This change in buying happened almost with the flip of a switch, causing a supply chain bottleneck. I don't need to tell you this, but if you've been to a grocery store over the last 30 days, it's evident that the demand is there, as shelf stockers can't keep up. You would think with this type of buying that the cattle and hog markets would be racing to the upside, but in reality, we're seeing the opposite. It makes a guy scratch his head. What's going on is we are seeing packing plants either shutting down production completely or slowing down the chain speeds in order to maintain the proper social distance, both with the goal to slow the spread of COVID. So, at the end of the day, we're not killing the same number of head that we normally see. The demand for the finished product is clearly there. We have this glut of live animals on the supply side, but we have this disconnect between the two, as processing isn't keeping the pace it should. With everything going on, this goes to show, not only in the livestock, but in grains and other commodities, that the market doesn't care what your cost per acre or cost of gain is. It will act irrational long after you or I are solvent. Over the last 5 years, and especially the last 12 months, being proactive in your marketing has put you in a better spot, so you don't have to react when the market backs you into a corner. It's not too late to have that conversation. Even when everything looks the darkest, dawn may be around the corner. If you have questions or would like an idea or two for 2020, give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors at 888-452-8751. I'm Zach Ohlde. Have a great day.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us, of course, at a safe distance, online at KansasAgReport.net. Like us on Facebook, Kansas Ag Report Television Show. Follow us on Twitter, Kansas Ag Report. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Kansas Ag Report. Well, wash your hands, check in on your neighbor, be kind to folks. We'll get through this together. I'm Ken Rogers. We'll see you next time on the Kansas Ag Report.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.